Also happening in the world is sadly enough, the hypocrisy of the US now denouncing the Houthis and calling them a terrorist group. Have you followed this story? I believe this just happened today.
So I thought we labeled them a terrorist group a long time ago
We
because
did, and then we
yeah.
took them off the terrorist list, and then we put them back on.
Oh, we took them off because there was a cease. Okay, so let's back up and just cover a little bit of context. So the
Yes.
Houthis are a rebel group in Yemen that has been trying to overthrow the government in Yemen. They
Yes.
are Shia and they are backed by Iran, who is also Shia. Okay, the Yemeni government is Sunni. Okay, who's Iran's sworn enemy? The Saudis, because the Saudis are Sunni. So the Saudis have been bombing the Houthis and helping the Yemeni government fight off the Houthi rebels because it's been a proxy war between Sunni and Shia, between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And there was a ceasefire after years and years of war, because this has been going on since the Arab Spring.
Right.
There
Like
was a
nothing
ceasefire.
happening in the Middle East right now, either in Israel or in Iran, is in a silo. This is all decades in the making, going back. You could easily start at the Balfour Agreement at the tail of the 1800s that was instigated by the British, where basically they made a deal with the Arab Jews, the Middle Eastern Jews and the Middle Eastern Arabs, saying, help us fight the Ottoman and we'll give you land. And they did. And afterwards, the British basically kept their word with the primarily Ashkenazi Jews, which are Eastern European Jews, opposed to keeping their word to the Arab Muslim societies. And a big part of what's going on has a lot to do with that agreement and the British breaking their promises to the people. And although there's an argument that the people at the time, you can call them Palestinians or past Philistines, the people at the time had an opportunity to participate in the agreement, but that's actually not completely true, because what people forget was that at the time, the print and the news was obstructed in that region. So they did not have freedom of press at the time. So by the time the Balfour Declaration occurred and the following events that occurred, it took almost 2 years for the people in that region to even find out that all of this unfolded. So there's a lot of history to the events that's going on, but what's happening with the Houthis and Iran, it is connected loosely to what is going on with Israel.
Right. And so I guess maybe we took them off of the terrorist watch list or the terrorist list after with that, peace agreement. Maybe that was part of it. But with everything that's going on in Israel, which we can get into at another time, because that deserves several episodes unto itself. But now, Yemen's right there by the Red Sea. They are attacking ships going in and out of the Red Sea, and a lot of shipping goes through the Red Sea as a means of fighting against Israel. They believe they're attacking ships that are bound for Israel, but they're essentially just attacking any ship that they see. Like they attacked like a ship that was going to go to China or a ship that was owned by China. So now we have fought them in the water, and now we've actually struck some targets in Yemen to get them to stop doing that, because global shipping, not just oil, but global shipping in general is going to be impacted if you've got these folks hitting these giant, container ships and tanker ships coming through the Red Sea.
Correct. Yeah, according to Time magazine, Yemen imports 90% of its food. It's had a war and chronic misgovernment, which have left 24 million Yemenis at risk of hunger and disease, and 14 million are in acute need of humanitarian assistance, according to the United Nations. Aid groups during the height of this have issued repeated warnings that millions of Yemenis were on the brink of famine. So, unfortunately, because of the strikes that you are speaking about, the Biden administration has put them back on the terrorist list because they've escalated the attacks on Israel.
Now, are the Houthis attacking Israel directly as well?
They're saying that they're working with Iran and Hamas allied militant groups around the Middle East.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the thing, the Shia kind of axis of influence. It starts with Iran, and then it's the Houthis in Yemen, it's Hamas in Palestine, occupied Palestine, in Gaza and the West Bank, whatever you want to say, and then Hezbollah in Lebanon. They're also
Right.
Shia.
Right.
Yeah. So proxy wars, and that's just how we're kicking off 2024. We could do a whole roundup of all the hot spots across the world, because the Niger coup that we talked about last year, there's still shit going on with that. Other African nations are talking about a military operation. We're actually paying Kenya to do a military operation in Haiti right now to get Haiti under control, because Haiti is a fallen state after the Haitian president got killed last year. We talked about that. We can revisit that. And then we got stuff that might pop off in Taiwan, because the Taiwanese election just happened, and they elected someone that China is not really a big fan of. So we'll put a stop there, and we'll come back to that and just do a full kind of geopolitical roundup there, and we can do a deep dive and do our research and everything. What do you have to say about where we're at right now with the Houthis and the fact that we're bombing yet another place?
What I would say is that the military industrial complex must be jerking each other off. Like, they must be partying like this is 1999. There's got to be cocaine midgets and people hanging upside down and diving naked into swimming pools with the amount of money that this industry must be making with all these wars going on. I think it's bad for morale in so many ways. I cannot believe that all these people, I can't believe this planet has the nerve to claim to believe in God. I don't want anybody to tell me how much they love God, Jesus, Allah, Kunta, whatever it is. I don't believe anybody anymore, because the level of savagery that is occurring under our eyes, to me, is the most repulsive thing I've ever seen since the apartheid in South Africa. And for God to be an undertone in any of this, I think, is even more sickening. So I find the whole thing deeply disappointing that this is where we're kicking off 2024. I think it's also shameful that we still have award shows going on, and at the same time, people posting how much they care. I mean, how much can you care about what's going on there? I mean, the gift bags are $500,000, and yet we have migrant people sleeping on the street, blocks from synagogues, mosques, and churches. So I really don't know what's going on in this planet anymore. I think it's straight up schizophrenic, and I'm actually surprised people aren't eating people in the middle of the street at this point.
Maybe it's only a matter of time.
I'm
surprised. So last year I was like, okay, the Republican governors, the Texas and Florida, they've been sending these migrants to Chicago. They've been sending them to New York for more than a year now. And I'm like, San Francisco has got to be on their list. So I'm wondering, maybe they're waiting until the election heats up some more, and then they're going to start sending the buses to San Francisco, because we don't have that many people, and we ain't got that much space. It'd be very easy for them to completely overwhelm us. It really wouldn't take that many buses for them to completely overwhelm us. But I looked into the New York thing, and part of what they're doing is exploiting the fact that New York has a law that says you have a right to shelter.
Yeah,
they're
running out of space, allegedly. Running out of space. It is so cold here. It hasn't been this cold in so long. There was snow all the way from northern New York down through Philadelphia. It has been brutal, and I really don't understand how, as human beings, no matter what our political beliefs or religious beliefs or moral compass, how can we let a single human being have to sleep outside in 0-degree weather that feels like negative 12 degrees when there's churches all around that could they could sleep on the church bench? I find it sickening. I find it sickening, and I find it hypocritical. And I really don't care about anybody telling me that they pray, they believe in God, because until I see people walking outside and manifesting all that bullshit, I don't want to hear it. It is shameful to have people standing outside trying to wait in line to get a bed somewhere. For what? There's a Catholic church, a synagogue, a mosque, a Buddhist temple, a block away from everywhere that these migrants are trying to get shelter. And you're telling me these people don't feel compelled to open their doors, and their parishioners aren't demanding that they do so? Why not? Every single one of these religions have a philosophy of love and take care of each other. Here's your opportunity to do it. And the second everybody gets an opportunity to do it, everybody gets amnesia.
Yeah. Now, I saw something on IG and I reposted it or added to my story, whatever. Some pastor somewhere, and I will look up the details and come back to you on this. In fact, maybe I can just find it now. Some pastor actually started housing homeless folks at his church, and he's facing criminal charges for it because he's violating zoning laws.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Don't tell me that this planet, that people care about God and care about each other. They don't. So if we really don't, why do we have to keep walking around pretending like we do? Oh, the other movie I did see, speaking of movies, is the Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali movie. Was it Leave the World Behind?
Oh, yes.
I thought that was extremely well done as well. First of all, I love him. I'll see anything he's in. If he was in a commercial for pimples, I would watch it. I thought it was well done, and honestly, it's a pretty good analogy of where this planet is going. I mean, it really doesn't take much.
Okay, I found it. This is happening in a place called Bryan, Ohio. The pastor's name is Chris Avell.
Okay.
A-V as in Victor, E-L-L. And the church is called Dad's Place.
Okay.
And yes, he pled not guilty on January 11th to zoning code violations. The fact that we have zoning code violations that end up with criminal charges and he has to plead not guilty to them, like you would think that would just be a ticket.
Yeah.
That and then the ticket could just be written down to like a $1 charge. But this is a bit ridiculous. Yeah. Said the Bryan City Zoning Commission told him Dad's Place, which does not have bedrooms, could no longer house homeless.
Shameful.
The one Christian who's actually doing what the Bible says, doing what Jesus said, because all the other I won't say all, but most of the other Christians that I run into are full-blown hypocrites. You find one that's actually doing what Jesus said do, and y'all are going to come down on him for zoning violations. First of all, one of his neighbors turned him in because they didn't want the homeless folks across the street from them.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest.
Absolutely. Somebody snitched them out. One of those alleged, I believe in God people living in that neighborhood snitched them out, or somebody who's got beef with. It's disgusting. And I don't want anybody to tell me that they believe in God. Nothing's being done in God's name. Everybody's loyal to their self-interests.
Might have been another pastor who didn't want to face pressure for doing that at his church.
Absolutely. But most likely a neighbor.
Yeah.
Shameful. That just didn't want them around. I mean, people are losing their minds here because half of the migrants and homeless people here are now in some of the most expensive parts of Manhattan.
Yeah. And just to give
an idea, I understand that, you pay $30 million for an apartment, you come outside, there's a guy taking a shit in front of your apartment building. That's going to piss you off.
And Bryan, Ohio isn't even that big of a town. It's 53 miles southwest of Toledo, and the population is 8,729 people as of the 2020 census. The weather is 17 degrees right now in Bryan, Ohio.
Horrible.
And y'all want to say this guy can't have people just spend the night at the church. 17-degree weather.
How can you do that as a human being? When I see it on you, I instantly start to cry. It makes me so sick.
It's not like this is it's not like this is 1,000 buses full of migrants. This town only has 8,700 people. This is probably a handful of folks who are either out of work or maybe got strung out on opioids, because a lot of those small towns in the Rust Belt, that's the big problem there, right? It's folks who just need a little bit of help. Come on. Not that if they were migrants, that would make it better to kick them out. But for all the folks who, I'll just send them back, or they should do this or whatever. Like these are our own people. If you want to do some America first shit, these are probably our own people. And y'all still saying fuck them.
The worst part. So another layer of this is that they kicked out. Actually, they closed down a school and made the kids start doing online school so that they could use the school as a shelter, and people lost it. And to tell you the truth, I agree with that. That's not right.
Yeah, I heard they didn't get any notice either. It was just people woke up that day and they found out they did. So all those parents who were counting on their kids going off to school, now they got to be like, the kids aren't old enough to be home alone all day.
Yep.
Yeah, what kind of Mickey Mouse operation is this? What the fuck? Like,
horrible. Horrible. And I really think it's just to discourage kids from being in school. All this pushback against college is nonsense and they're doing this and you da-da-da. It's all to discourage people from going to school so that it circles back to being a place for elite. Because guess what? All the people complaining, they're still sending their kids to those schools.
Thank you.
Don't get it twisted. Their kids are going to college. There's a reason they want their kids to go to college. It teaches you discipline. It gives you exposure. It broadens your reading level. You experience people that you may not have come across before. You get to learn mentors. You get a network. There's a lot of positives to education. And I think all of this is just an excuse to bum kids out of being excited about school. Shameful. It's shameful. Shame on this place. I want to live in an educated world. I want people around me to be healthy. I want people around me to be smart. If from no other reason, a selfish standpoint, so that I don't get robbed when I'm walking down the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't complicated. This isn't complicated.
Mm-hmm. Well, if people aren't getting educated, then how else are you going to have these minimum? Where else are you going to find people to be your minimum wage workers? Where else are you going to find enough people that commit a small crime that you can send away to one of these for-profit prisons to do even lower wage work? Okay, and then where else are you going to find people that are going to be your infantry in our army in this generation and the upcoming generation?
We have to do better, and hopefully, in doing better, we'll make better choices and candidates. Speaking of, Trump is still the front runner for the Republican Party. Vivek Ramaswamy has just dropped out of the race, polling below Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, who are both polling at around 20%. Trump is around 50%, which still means half of the nation does not want to vote for him. Having said that, Chris Christie also dropped out of the race. Having said that, the Democratic Party has seemed to ice everybody out of public view except Biden and Kamala, which I do not agree with. There are other candidates who are running, including Cornel West and Marianne Williamson and R.F. Kennedy Jr., and the Democrats are just simply not passing them the mic. And I don't appreciate that. I think that's manipulative, and it's something out of the Republican playbook. I mean, you could say about time, Democrats, finally, like you found your balls. The other side of it is I would like to hear from the other candidates. I mean, does it come down to two old white men who've both been accused of sexual assault? This is the best we can do. You can't even get a job at McDonald's with that kind of bullshit on your resume. But these two get to run for president. I'm so over this planet. But I guess we'll see what happens on the next episode of Earth. Until then, peace.